Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 861st Transport and Infrastructure Committee meeting. I'd like to welcome our committee members. We've got Councillor Young, Gates, Tozer, Marshall, O'Neill. I believe Councillor Hamill's on the way. Visiting councillors, Naomi Fowler, Joe Wilkinson, and again, I believe Councillor Martin is on the way as well. So welcome. Attendance and apologies. I don't believe we have any at this stage. I believe Councillor Hamill's on the way, so he's here now. So that's nil. Sorry. There you go. Do I start again or does everyone get that? We'll start again. Welcome to the 861st Transport and Infrastructure Committee meeting. Today, attendance and apologies, everyone's here. I'd like to welcome all councillors. We're all here now. Visiting councillors, Fowler, Wilkinson and Martin, welcome. Attendance and apologies, nil. We've got leave of absence, nil. Confirmation of meeting from the 860th meeting. Do I have a mover on that? Councillor Young, seconded Councillor Gates. Do we have any questions, any changes? Put the motion to you. All in favour? Carry. Thank you. Any conflict of interest? Anyone? No, nil. So we currently have 5 items. 4 of them are starred. 6.2 isn't starred at the moment. So is there anyone want to unstar any of the
Chairman,
items?
can I ask a question, please, just about the agenda?
Yep.
We had a published agenda which included an item, Bruce Bishop Car Park, and we've all received a subsequently amended agenda which removed that item, and we received advice from the Acting Chief Executive Officer on the weekend to that effect.
Yep.
I spoke with him on the weekend and I'm reasonably satisfied, but I just want to be sure that when we deal with this matter, is it going to come through committee first or is it going to go straight to council? Because I think that's the worst forum for us to be debating something of that nature. That's my first question.
Yep. Michael?
Through the chair, my understanding is it would come back to December to committee.
Thank you. And so that would be informed by a new agenda item. It would be updated, taking into account things that are likely to happen between here and then.
Correct. And any outcomes of the November workshop, we could also incorporate.
Good. Thank you for setting this question.
I'm really sorry, but I missed the reason why. Why was it withdrawn? Sorry, through you, Chair.
Through the chair, my understanding was after some of the councillors had inquiries around the Bruce Bishop project, given that it was a significant expenditure prior to the opportunity to have the capital workshop on the 17th.
Right.
The decision was made that we would effectively go through the workshop, incorporate any outcomes from that session that can then inform the December committee decision. So it was effectively making sure that we had an overall budget position before we went into the Bruce Bishop conversation in isolation.
Okay. The only reason it worries me is that I don't know how far advanced we are with the civic hall stage and I've also heard that we've offered a tender for occupation of that. Is that true through Experience Gold Coast?
Through the chair, we can come back with details on that, but we're in a design and construct contract on the music hall, as councillors are aware. And yeah, given that wasn't the subject of the report to committee for today in any case, I guess that would be a separate discussion.
Okay, so can I just ask also that when the report comes to December, that it includes the information that was requested when we last considered Bruce Bishop, because I don't recall, and I could be wrong, but I don't recall getting the profit and loss statements that had been requested, nor do I recall getting the review of parking availability. And I think there was some wording around perhaps how we might activate it further in Central Surface Paradise. So can we be sure those things are included in the next report, please? Thank you.
Thank you. And my understanding when it came to me was there was a concern with obviously going through the budget process. We've got November 17 where we've got a workshop. So I think that was the discussion of going through that, and then we can bring it back to the next committee.
And can I please request that item 6.3 is unstarred?
So 6.3 unstarred.
Thank you.
Yep. 6.1 I think we'll unstar as well. Any questions on 5.1 or 7.1? Get them starred. Do we have any questions on 6.2?
7.1. I know I'm not on the committee, but if you wouldn't mind, Chair.
7.1, happy to unstar it. Do we have any questions for 6.2? Is there any interest to star in that one, or we'll listen to the report? Councillor Hamill?
Yep.
Yeah, that's fine.
Star in it?
We'll talk to it quickly.
Sorry?
We might pull out at full council to talk to it quickly, but I had no questions or concerns to raise in committee today.
Is everyone happy to star it? Or yep. So we'll star 5.1, 6.2, unstarred 6.1, 6.3, and 7.1. Then we've got general business. So can I have a mover for those? Councillor Young, seconded Councillor Gates. All in favour? Carry. Thank you. We'll now move to 6.1, petition, interim response request to consider metre parking hours in Burleigh Heads and at the Gold Coast Aquatic Centre and undertake a 30-metre free parking trial in the Burleigh Heads precinct. We've got Daniel here for a present the item with Nick and Mark's here also. So there's no presentation, so do we have questions? Councillor Hamill.
Mr. Chair, not a question, but I have a change recommendation when you're ready.
Not a problem. Do we have any other questions from the floor? Okay. So happy to see the change of recommendation.
Mr. Chair, I've provided draft wording for a change recommendation to Chamber support with the input of some of my colleagues.
That's it.
No, it's coming.
Okay. Does everyone see that? Comfortable with that?
Can we make clear to us what the changes are, please, either by the minute secretary or by Councillor Hamill?
Sorry, can you repeat that, Councillor Young?
Could it be made clear to us what the changes are, please?
Yep.
Mr. Chair, possibly, I know we've only just opened, but would we like to adjourn for a couple of minutes and see if Chamber support can get that to work, because it's a bit messy when you can't get a mover and a seconder up, and perhaps we can highlight what the changes are so that it's easily reflected so the councillor can see it, but the community can see the changes as well.
So do you want to adjourn while we make
If we could adjourn for 5 minutes, just let Chamber support get the system to work, hopefully.
Happy to adjourn? Yep. Do we need to take a motion for that? No. We'll adjourn. We'll come back shortly. we'll work through the.
Yeah, just I think it's important the community can see in red what the change.
Thank you for everyone watching. We had some technical challenges, which I think we've resolved at this stage, or working around. So we have a change of recommendation. We've got it up on the screen now. Let's just get everyone to go through that. Okay, Councillor Hamill, I think it's your motion. So, okay. Yep, Councillor Tozer.
So, Mr. Chair, the change recommendation I put up today is after conversations with colleagues on this matter. I'm attempting to deliver what I think is a compromise change recommendation position of ensuring that any decision to alter hours or introduce or not introduce free parking periods is made on an evidence base instead of a knee-jerk reaction base. So the change calls for a report to come back in May next year instead of waiting until the end of 2026, because I acknowledge that's quite a distance off and that there is a desire from my colleagues to see this matter dealt with in a quicker fashion. So in my eyes, May meant that, one, we're dealing with it before the 26-27 budget deliberations are finished so that any impacts can be appropriately modelled. It also allows for the full summertime period and the start of the Easter period to be considered in the data and evidence as well. So while I know officers would have preferred more time to collect more data, I think we've met somewhere in the middle. For my council colleagues, it means that while we're not necessarily making a decision straight away on changing hours and whatnot, which I know a couple would have liked to have done, it gives that space for that to occur as well. I've removed that we don't support 30-minute free parking at this time. So we won't introduce it now, but as part of the full array of options to be looked at, as part of 2, that it can be considered at that time. I think that's important, that nothing is off the table for now, that if we are seeking a more holistic review of paid parking hours across the city, which was part of the intent of when this was introduced at the budget time, that it enables that conversation to occur, which I think reflects the feedback from a few of our colleagues that maybe this was done too quick through the budget process and that we can have a more holistic review of it. It allows that to happen. Number 4 just points out that, and this is very much Councillor Martin's input in this place, that, going back to the petitioner with what's in there is probably only an interim response, that we should go back to the petitioner, outline what steps are going to occur next, and then go back to them with a more fulsome response after a final decision is made on this matter next year. Chair, I acknowledge it is a compromise change recommendation that I hope meets somewhere in the middle of what councillors are wanting to do, what officers are seeking in terms of evidence and data, and most importantly for me, acknowledges the fact that there was a general feeling that there wasn't enough information and that it was presented too quickly during the budget process, that this would enable a more holistic and wholesome review of paid parking hours in the hope of getting that consistency, which was one of the key themes we were looking at before any further decisions are made on the matter. I put the change recommendation to my colleagues, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Questions? Councillor Young.
Thanks, Chair. My recollection is that we had a pretty substantial look at this during the budget process and it wasn't dealt with quickly. But in response to that, I wonder if the move of the amendment will include in number 2 the words at the end to the effect that including full cost analysis of any changes of these options.
Mr. Chair, in all honesty, I guess I just expected that to be part of it, if the councillor would have more comfort by that being explicitly called out. And I would just ask, as long as Councillor Martin feels like that's a worthy inclusion, because I know he has got some separate information, specifically around the finances coming through GAF. If there is a general feel that that's a good addition, I'm happy and amendable to that adjustment.
Thank you.
Perfect. Councillor Gates.
Thanks, Chairman. Through you, isn't May going to be too late? Won't all of the budget calculations, I know we make a decision just before budget delivery, but does May give us time to actually change this back to 9 a.m. if that's the desire of the council?
Through the chair, I see Karen's coming out, but even if the change is resolved in May, there will still be some time, obviously, to roll out any change depending on the extent of it right across the city. So there's significant signage amendments if there were changes, but in terms of the actual budget process and final adoption, I'll let Karen comment on that, given she's walked in.
Thank you.
Sorry, through the chair. April would be the date where we're considering the operating budget books. So if the work could be done leading into the April operating budget, that would probably be ideal.
It's up to the mover, but I would prefer that it be done with the possibility of making a change. I understand that there is a desire for data. I'd be more prepared to take a gut call myself, but anyway, happy to support this if it's April.
Councillor Hamel, are you happy to consider April?
Mr. Chair, if I definitely did May because I thought there'd be enough time. If Karen feels like April is the absolute cutoff, it sadly probably means that a lot of the Easter data may not be able to inform it, but we can take every day and week's worth of data we can. So if Karen feels like April is the date, I'm happy to adjust it to April.
The next question, Councillor Marshall.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to Councillor Hamel. Probably the question just relates to, I think you touched on it with the change recommendation, but just in number 1, obviously this affects both bookends of my area. So Burleigh's one, but Broadbeach is the other, and it doesn't really mention it in point 1. So are we looking at the whole city or just the aquatic centre and Burleigh with the changes?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So acknowledging this is a petition response that specifically calls out those 2 areas. So my intent with number 1 would be that nothing changes in any other area as well, which it can't under this one. So the parking changes as per the budget process that were changed anywhere remain in place. The report that comes back in April will not only consider these 2 areas, but would be if we're looking for consistency, we'll have that wholesome and holistic look at all of them. Does that answer your question, Councillor? Yeah.
So from my perspective, I'm seeing this answer in the petition, but I think as we go to budget, we need to be consistent in all our areas. So I think whatever we look at should be consistent as an overall review, as we always do in any budget. We're looking at consistency as well.
So, Mr. Chair, and I think that's a fairly key point because this is a petition response. It's not a report on paid parking hours altogether. I would expect that report as part of the budget process ties the 2 together so that we don't end up making decisions in one area separate to others. But there is consistency, which was a key theme we were seeking to get into this place. I think the EGM understands that would be the purpose of the report, that it all ties together.
Councillor Martin.
Thanks, Chair. Just a queer bit of context first. Obviously moved an item in GAF around our Q1 reporting for parking. So that's still got to go through the council cycle. So I suppose my former motion was just dealing with that first 3 months of the court as a sample size. So just seeking clarity from in the finance team, if we get that data and we want to make a change to the fees and charges, can we do that mid-year? We don't have to wait. If we've got the data from the first quarter, can we make that change if it's the will of council to the fees and charges for this current financial year? My understanding is time is still built into the fees and charges register is probably but yes, time, but that's the mechanism, isn't it? Fees and charges.
Through the chair, yes, that's correct. But keeping in mind that any changes to any budget items will affect the overall budget and the operating surplus position for which we're budgeting to achieve.
Do we have any more questions? Councillor Tozer, you happy with the changes? The second? Yep, thank you. Do we have any more questions? Councillor Gates.
Just one more question through you, Chair. had any data provided to this point in time about the take-up of the 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. period?
Yeah, through the chair, Councillor, our parking officers that regularly patrol these areas have advised us that it's almost back to like normal occupancy levels with these changes in place, was the feedback we've received. But 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. is busier when in Burleigh, say, when the surf is better, occupancy levels are higher, so it is dependent on the conditions at the time as well.
Thanks.
Do we have any more questions at this stage? Councillor Hamilton?
Mr. Chair, not a question, but just wondering, I'm very happy to support the including full cost analysis for any changes. It just doesn't read particularly well as it's currently written. If maybe just including full cost analysis of any changes is its own point, or that sentence as it's currently there doesn't read well. Or is it just me that feels that way? Yeah, there's something. Better. Just, I'm surprised Councillor Gates in the Grammar Department didn't pull that one up because it just doesn't read well.
I'm still struggling with the recommendation.
Yeah. Anyway, that's okay. Yeah, I'm happy with that, Mr. I think everyone understands the intent. The officers understand the intent of it. If it's grammatically pure, I'll leave for someone else to decide.
Did you delete 3?
So if we're comfortable with that, we'll open for debate. So I'll hand over for the opening.
Mr. Chair, thank you, and I appreciate the input of all my colleagues before the committee and during committee. As I pointed out, while I don't have paid parking hours in my division, I very much understand from the last few months that this decision during the budget process has raised concerns in different parts of the city and led to petitions being received. While those petitions and some of the media recently would call for immediate changes to be made, I personally don't like making knee-jerk reactions. I would prefer to allow things to have a little bit of time to sink in for data and evidence to be gathered before we make any more changes. Because I very much remember that the intent of this at budget time was in the idea of bringing consistent rules to this space, that we had different parts of the city at a whack with others. So I want to make sure we try and keep on that journey, and by just delaying this until May, April next year now, gives that chance for a little bit more data, a little bit more evidence for that holistic review to come forward. Means that we can get through a full summer Christmas period and part of the Easter period for that data to be part of it. In the meantime, councillors that are affected by these changes continue to consult with their community and especially their business community on what effect it's having. And then when we get to April next year, councillors presented back with a full report with that data and evidence of occupancy rates, community feedback, data and evidence on any cost implications for any proposed changes to hours or introductions of free parking periods, and that we make hopefully one decision then that can inform the budget and rolls out in a slightly more cleaner fashion. I hope the change recommendation can be supported. I look forward to councillors' input.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to speak for the motion? Councillor Marshall?
Thank you, Chair, and through you. I would have come here to say I was going to vote no matter what. And whilst it's not directly in my area, as I've mentioned, both Councillor Martin and yourself, Chair, your areas bookend mine, and so my people will park in your areas. And this has been an increasing issue. Well, I guess one of the biggest things for me personally has been older people saying that they don't need more roadblocks to being fit, healthy and active. We put on 350 active and healthy activities that are low cost or free. Some of those have gone up a little bit with the current budget, and then with the paid parking that made it difficult for some. And I don't want to make this about the state government versus council, so I can fully acknowledge that. But I do appreciate that the change will bring about data so that we can make an informed decision come budget. Look, I understand that a knee-jerk reaction was probably how I was thinking when I drove in this morning, that I wanted this to stop. I wanted to stop for Councillor Martin and for all, I guess, the beachside people, but I think a data-driven decision is probably a better way to go, so we see how we can recoup, I guess, costs that were made or lost as a part of this. So, thanks.
Thank Okay. Anyone speak against the motion?
I'm half and half.
Councillor Gates, do you want to go half and half?
I don't like the idea of 30-minute free parking at all, so I'm a bit perplexed at why we would further consider that. I feel like the reason that's always been the premise of our paid meter parking is to create turnover for business, and that clearly isn't the case with the 7 a.m. start. So I'm troubled by that, but I'm going to support this recommendation purely because it seems that the people who, or the representatives who are impacted by it, want this data before another decision is made, and far be it from me to suggest that they shouldn't get that information. So I'll reluctantly support the motion before us.
Okay, so that was against, but it's a support. So I'm going to go as you're against at the moment, against or support. Councillor O'Neill.
Thanks, Chair. And I, like Councillor Marshall, was coming here today to support the Divisional Councillor in Burleigh to take the parking back to 9 a.m, because I too believe that we're actually punishing those people who want to exercise earlier, and having got a lot of beach suburbs myself, I would hate to see 7 a.m. coming in there. I appreciate the amendment, the change recommendation that's been put forward, and to get more data. And I do hope that that data will show what we're seeing at those beachside suburbs, that people are quite upset that and see it as just revenue gaining instead of actually real data. So, and I'm not against timed parking or paid parking where it's needed, but I think our beachside suburbs, especially somewhere like Burleigh that has been through a lot of upheaval with the light rail stage 3 construction and other construction sites going on there. We'll just wait and see what the data says. But I'm happy that the Divisional Council is supporting this as well. I will certainly support it. Thank you.
Anyone against? No. Councillor, I'm going to talk for support, but Councillor Martin.
Thanks, Chair. If you allow a comment. Perhaps it's half and half. But look, firstly, I didn't support, and I still don't support the 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. to the 5 and 7 p.m, so the additional hours. But councillors would be aware that just GAF committee this week, I asked for additional financial data to support our decision making. I know there is. There's probably differing views, but there's certainly a view around that the 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Shouldn't be there. But, I think it is wise for us to make sure that we have properly considered the financial impacts in light of the budget context. Absolutely, I'm firmly of that view, but I just think it's incumbent on us to know what that decision-making will flow, how that will impact the budget. For me, it's less about the reporting of usage. It is just the cost of those little decisions we've made along the way, because we have made several. We've made additional hours, but we've also made additional costs on street, off street, and then there's also the consideration of the trial. I'm supportive of it staying like that in there right now, because it should just be considered in the full context of the changes. Whilst I'd love to get this done today, I think they say, you only get one chance to get it right. I think today we're getting a second chance, and I don't want that butchered. I'd rather get that financial report that I've already raised, that we get a second chance to get this right, because I think once we make that decision, we're backing it in. I think it's probably it's been talked about by councillors and the community. Obviously, the changes came in through the special budget process, so the community weren't engaged. That's occurred now. So I think we're bringing everything together. I would love to see this happen as soon as possible. I wouldn't want to see it happen any later than that. And if there's any opportunity to make the decision earlier, I'll be seeking to do that. But I think we should just know at what budget cost. So reluctantly support this, but reaffirm my commitment around I still don't support the additional hour changes.
Do we have anyone against? I'm going to quickly talk for it. And I think I'm the same as most others. from my perspective, it has been an impact for a lot of our businesses and local residents that go down there that get involved in active and healthy events or activities. Just social gatherings of going and having a coffee has been affected. And I think previously when we've had time parking, so we do have time parking and we have meter parking, and it's always been a lever to manage that control. And I feel as well as last year we came into a budget process that the decision was made, and I don't believe we had a data-driven reason to go to the 9 to 5. So what this is doing is actually saying, let's get some real data. It's saying that we've got the ability to really understand the negative and positives, but in what I'm seeing is the negatives effects. I know there's a GAF report coming in the meantime that hopefully give us some more informed data. In relation to the 30-minute trial, what I'm hoping this does is actually looks at all options. I'm not saying 30-minute is the right, 15, the 2 hours. This will give us some informed decisions to understand, one, what is right for our business, what is right for our residents, but most importantly, we're right for our budget moving forward. So I hope that we can support this, and hopefully we can look at getting some meaningful changes moving forward. Councillor Hammer, would you like to close?
Mr. Chair, just very briefly, I acknowledge, I think we had most committee members have input then, which is always a really good thing into these kind of matters. I acknowledge that Councillor Martin was the one that really put in a lot of time with this, with me, of trying to come up with a change recommendation that could get support, because he really did acknowledge that this decision had only just been made at budget time, and that there needed to be a balance in between wanting to get a decision made and having appropriate time and appropriate input. And I think that shows a really good level of professionalism in this space, because we could have come in and made a knee-jerk decision and looked to change hours, but my worry is that undermines the intent of why we went down this path in the first place. So I'm really happy to support this now, because it gives another 6 months of data with the report coming back in April next year, where my hope is that the next report on this matter and the next decision of council on paid parking hours across the city is then one that is more broadly supported, can be locked into place, and then can be left to settle. I look forward to seeing if there's further debate on this at full council, and hope that the change recommendation has the support of committee today.
So we put the motion to you. All in favour? Against? Carry. Okay, we'll move to 6.3. I think we need to unstart that one. Status update on the Gold Coast Public Transport Resolution. Was 6.3. Did we have some questions for 6? It was starred.
Yep.
Councillor Young.
Thanks, Chairman. I did have a couple of questions in relation to the focus of this paper, which is titled A Status Update on Gold Coast Public Transport Resolution, but I think it's really about the southern Gold Coast, because I think around about the same time we had another paper come to committee as this previous item, which dealt with the east-west connections, and which included both Robina to Miami, I think, and Nerang to Broadbeach. I'm not sure if the southern one is included in all of this contemplation, where there's discussion about a joint regional transport planning strategy and project implementation. So that would be my first question. Is the southern link for the east-west corridor part of that whole conversation, or is that a separate exercise, please?
Yeah, through the chair. So this report responds to a council resolution that requested a report be brought back in November. You might recall it was a mayoral minute at the September council meeting. I think it was debated in over an hour worth of debate. And the resolution was to report back to council in November, 1, regarding the corridor protection, and 2, to provide an update on the transport planning exercise that was recommended in the Gold Coast Light Rail 4 review report to be undertaken by TMR. So this report is, yes, it was responding to Southern Gold Coast, but the actual council resolution was to respond and give a status update about those two matters.
Not sure if I got an answer to my direct question about the inclusion or not of that Rabina to Miami east-west corridor. Is that part of it?
Through the chair. In terms of the proposed joint transport planning study, certainly the scope of works and the methodology that we provided to DTMR officers is whole of city. So we're talking east, west, north, south, and a one city approach with an opportunity to work with DTMR. We're yet to work through their response to that framework and approach, but certainly in terms of the joint study, that was looked at as a whole of city and not picking off specific corridors from officers' perspective, and we need to work that through with DTMR.
Thank you. So then the Nerang to Broadbeach would be part of those overwhelming overall studies. I'm just keen not to lose any focus on that because that body of work is principally being done by DTMR, as I understand it, Chair, and they're not being very forthcoming with information. They haven't engaged with anybody in the community, and I'm a bit worried about where it's all heading or not. But second thing is, whilst we were in the break, we had a copy of a letter provided to us from the Minister for Transport and Main Roads, Mr Mickelberg, addressed to the Mayor, and that confirms certain position which wasn't clear at the time of writing. So I'll ask Mr Prosser to address that letter, please, just so it's noted.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Young. Through the chair. So at the time of preparing this report, we hadn't received a response from the Minister. So the Mayor wrote to the Minister in response to the Council resolution requesting confirmation that that their corridor will continue to be, that they have been preserving, will continue to be preserved. We did receive some advice from a third party that they had received advice from the state that they will continue to preserve the corridor. Well, on the 30th of October, the Minister did respond to the Mayor and confirmed that they will continue to preserve the corridor.
Thank you. So there's still hope that a forward-thinking state government might include a light rail connection to the airport along that corridor in the future. Thanks, Chair.
Councillor Fowler.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. I just wanted to ask just around the timing. So given the state government's currently putting together their transport plan and that's coming back to us, where do you see the timing of this joint plan and it being collaborative? And have we actually engaged with the state government and are they happy to collaborate with us on this piece of work? I'm really interested in how the two pieces of work interlink and that they're aligned so we're not having two different directions for transportation in the city.
Through the chair. First thing I probably need to clarify, the wording of this particular matter in the report, in the Gold Coast Light Rail 4 report, actually said a transport planning exercise. That's the actual wording. So we don't know whether it's a study, a strategy, both. We have engaged with the Department of Transport and Main Roads at various forums since they released that report back in early September. At this point in time, we don't know exactly what the scope and what the timing of that transport planning exercise will be. We have suggested to them that we benefits for both parties that we do this jointly. As you know, we were in the middle of refreshing and updating our transport strategy. But this is an opportunity now for us to have a transport strategy for the Gold Coast, not just a transport strategy for the city of Gold Coast, if you know what I mean. So it's a partnership, it's a joint approach, and it gives confidence to the community that both entities are working together and collaborating to address our transport challenges.
Just one quick follow-up, if you don't mind, Chair. Are we being invited to collaborate on the current plan that's being put together? Is that more our advocacy and our collaboration piece should be on the work that the state government are currently putting together now, or are we waiting till that work's done and then separately we're hoping to work with them? I'm just trying to understand the different pieces of work that are happening.
Through the chair, the way I would answer that, councillor, is not yet. We haven't got a full response from TMR as to exactly what their planning exercise looks like. So we've put out a strong offer that we would love to help, and we have lots of information that we would like to share, and we'd like to share the way that our planning lines up with our proposed local growth management scheme. You know, that would then lead into our planning scheme, and the alignment that we could achieve would be, I think, really, really good for the city. As yet, we haven't had a response as to how that can be incorporated, but we're looking forward to it when we get it.
Just take it. Councillor Young.
If you don't mind, I'd just like to include reference to this letter, that it be, so the motion would be council notes the contents of the report and the minister's response of 30th of October, and then that would be attached to the minutes.
So you want to move that one?
Yes.
Seconder, Councillor O'Neill.
Thank you. I think it's
Anyone
important that it's on the public record that the state minister has said the Crisafulli government intends to preserve the currently gazetted road and public transport overlay protections for future transport solutions. Karen.
Thank you. So, questions?
Is there anything just to include in the minutes?
Say that again.
Can we include the letter in the minutes? Just so
Yep, that's what I've asked.
That's so. Do you want to open, Councillor Young? It's your motion.
And closed, if you like. I just think it's important to put it on the public record, the minister's.
Yep. Anyone want to speak for the motion?
Thanks.
Councillor O'Neill.
Thanks, Chair. I think it's great that we've actually got that acknowledgement from state government that the that southern corridor is being preserved, because it doesn't matter, even if light rail doesn't happen, and I do hope it does in the future, but even if it doesn't happen, they will be needing that corridor for road widening, buses, anything that you want, any sort of public transport that you're talking about will need that corridor preserved. So it gives us some hope that state has a plan for that corridor. And I wish that the state will collaborate with us sooner rather than later on exactly what's going to happen, especially in the southern corridor. Thank you.
Anyone want to speak against the motion? Put the motion to you. All in favour? Against? Carry. Thank you. 7.1. I think Councillor Hammer, did you have a question on 7? Did someone have a... Did I start that one? Councillor Fowler, was it? Sorry? Councillor Fowler, did you have a question?
Well, I was just trying to work out if Councillor Fowler's question is an open question or an enclosed question.
Got you.
Actually, just based on that, I think it'd be safest if we went into closed, just for absolute safety. So we'd move, we go to closed, because it's commercial in confidence and affects the city's budget.
Yep. So we've got that up there. Local government acting. Got it? Have we got a mover? Just trying. Yep. Councillor Hamill, seconder.
So to move to close.
The proper
to close. Councillor seconder Darren. All in favour. Carry. Streaming off. on. We have a mover for Councillor Hamill, seconder Councillor Tozer. Do you want to speak to it?
Very briefly, Mr. Chair, while specific details of this are enclosed, I wanted to give just some broad commentary that as part of the overall 4-year plan, as our EGM would talk to, of where we are heading to in this infrastructure space, seeing this kind of item come through for a not insignificant amount of money to be spent over the next few financial years in a really key area for the city to target for risk around electrical is really important. We had some very good feedback from Mitch in that closed session on the advantages that come with this kind of approach. So just want to acknowledge that this, in amongst a raft of other things happening in the infrastructure team at the moment, to hopefully get us to a point where we are getting better value of money for ratepayers, seeing things delivered faster. And importantly, the one part I'd like to call out is really giving a chance for local companies to get a little bit of a foresight into the future of what work packages are there, meaning there's a chance for Gold Coast companies to look to gear up and to be able to take on more city-led work in the future, hopefully.
Thank you. Anyone want to speak against the motion? Put the motion to you. All in favour? Against? Carry. Thank you. So now we'll go to general business. Councillor Wilkinson, I believe you got a general business item do we have here that we can bring up? Happy to move it. If you got a Okay. Councillor Wilkinson, I'll let you open.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for moving this, given that I'm not on this committee, but I think it's best placed here. So just by way of background in relation to this GBI that you see before you today, since my election, I've consistently prioritised openness and transparency, and this GBI more or less continues my efforts reflecting this commitment. Napa Road is a critical transport corridor within my community, connecting residents, businesses, community facilities and Arundel State School along its length, utilised by both locals to the area and the wider Gold Coast. For over the years, the city has produced various reports, strategic plans and information inclusive of this corridor, many that I've publicly shared myself. However, having all this information spread across all these documents can at times make it difficult for the community to find the information that they're seeking. So the purpose of this GBI today is to consolidate all the relevant details into a single forward-facing document that offers a clear and comprehensive understanding of the current configuration and performance of Napa Road, the key influencing factors, including major development proposals and approvals, the Coomera Connector and the Parkwood Investigation Area adopted by Council for inclusion in the new city plan, and as well as the future plan capacity and safety improvements along this corridor. This consolidated approach will give my community a more transparent, holistic view of the corridor's present state and future planning considerations. It will empower residents with accurate, accessible information and hopefully strengthen community confidence in the city's planning processes. I remain committed to advocating for improvements and working closely with city officers to deliver meaningful outcomes for my community. And I'll close with that.
Thank you. Does anyone want to, any questions? No, anyone want to speak for it? Anyone against? Put the motion to you. All in favour? Against? Carry. I don't believe there's any more general business, so we'll close the meeting at 14:06. Thank you.